So Talking Heads 22 asked me what the essential difference between Terrence McKenna and Ken Wilber seems to be, especially in how they relate to society. And I don't know that Ken Wilber really takes a specific attitude towards society, but if you look at the way he expresses and defends his philosophy, the books that he's written, um, he seems to be pretty authoritarian, and Terrence McKenna is definitely moves on the side of liberty, I think, and he's more for freewheeling um, exploration than he is for following the prescribed rules of any particular source of authority. Um, and certainly his connection to spirit was a lot different than Wilbur's. Wilbur's is very ordered and methodical. It's, you know, 25 or 30 years of a pretty strict meditation plan that is definitely an accomplishment of momentous heights. That's, I can't imagine being that disciplined, but he was able to do that. Terrence McKenna, on the other hand, used cannabis and psilocybin and DMT to talk to the other side, you know, to gain that deep sense of intuition into the nature of nature. And so really, I think what's going on here, the difference between these two guys is that the same message is hidden between the philosophy devised by two different personalities. So they're essentially pointing at the same moon. They're just shaping their finger according to their own inclinations, their own character, their own experiences, um, their own way of reflecting their environment, their society. So Terrence McKenna would always say that your culture is not your friend. And I think what he was really rejecting was our current mass society, the mass media mind of advertisements and representations of life that, we're constantly fed, and they're not objective representations. They're based on a certain view of what the world is and what nature is, that is, it seems orchestrated by not a secret government or anything, but just um, the basic drive of society is economic. And so our lives gain their meaning in our modern day culture from our desire to consume and our praise of technology, not really because it's making life better, but because it's making more interesting and ingenious technologies for us to buy and have fun with for a few weeks before we get bored with them and want something new. So that type of culture, I think, is what McKenna was always hating on. The type of culture and society that Wilber usually deals with is society on a much larger time scale, I think. Not that McKenna wasn't aware of archaic humanity. Certainly he was, but when he did talk about culture not being your friend, I think he was referring to our modern day time, whereas Wilber typically talks of humankind going back 100,000 years, or at least 10,000 years, through the stages of evolution of consciousness, through the archaic, magic, mythic, rational, and integral stages. I don't think that Terrence was really trying to synthesize some grand philosophy of evolution that encompasses not only biology but also the human mind and spirit. That's an ambitious plan that I think Wilber, maybe he's laying the groundwork for something to follow, but it seems early to start proclaiming the higher stages of consciousness beyond, you know, we can maybe say that it's legitimate to assume that there is something beyond rationality, that there is a certain order to intuition that we can learn through experiential training to come to grips with and to be aware of and to, use on a day-to-day basis to make meaning out of our lives. Some people still think that only rationality is possible, and as much as Wilber seems to be trying to open the door to the spiritual, he really is trying to slam his foot down on the rational and say this is the objective model of the cosmos. I have it, and if you disagree with my model, well, you're just at a lower stage of human conscious evolution than I am, so your criticism isn't valid. And, that's a claim that one can make and back it up with, some kind of intellectual jargon that's based on, research that's been done. This stuff is out there, and you can say this stuff and be taken seriously by some very smart people, but it's still controversial. I don't know where I really stand in that type of debate. I mean, how legitimate is it for me to say that you're just projecting your own shadow onto me if you happen to disagree with the way I formulate something? I wouldn't really say that. I mean, in a general sense, I might say that, you can only recognize in someone else what you've come to terms with in yourself. But to use that in an argument against someone else, if that's true, then they didn't hear what you just said right there, so you're only talking to yourself, trying to assert your own supremacy, because you like to get that ego boost, and it doesn't even matter that the other person is there, because they didn't hear you anyways. So, I think the real difference here between these two guys is, Wilber is a rationalist, and Terrence McKenna is more focused on intuition. And I personally think we need to take both of these seriously.